They're still in your power and you're letting them. Challenging conversations, you don't need a calm back. You need one calm sentence that keeps you from giving your power away. This episode is for the person who freezes in hard conversations, replays what they should have said 3 hours later, and walks away thinking, why did I let that person pull me out of myself? Today, I'm going to give you 5 sentences that you can commit to memory so the next time you feel pressure or criticism or conflict, you will not hand over your peace to the loudest person in the room. And let me say this up front. This is not about manipulation. This is about learning how to win for yourself, staying in peace with yourself, not to beat somebody else. As a counselor, faith and fitness leader, and someone who teaches people how to renew their minds, restore their lives, I know this. People do not lose themselves all at once. They lose themselves sentence by sentence, piece by piece, little pressure over time. And then someone makes you feel like you have to shrink or explain yourself or just bend to them. So today we're going to use 5 simple sentences to help you interrupt that pattern. Here's the core learning. You do not regain power by overpowering people. You regain power by refusing to abandon yourself under pressure. By the end of this episode, these 5 sentences will actually work in your family situations, your work relations, anytime you're tempted to trade peace for power. So we lose ourselves in small comments, dismissive looks, somebody who pushes our buttons, the conversations that start out normal, but you end up defending yourself or over-explaining the whole time. So we're going to not react from wounds. We're going to stop apologizing for things we don't need to apologize for and stop trying to prove ourselves. So we got to just understand how this works. There's an internal question. Why did I do that again? Because sometimes the issue is not that you don't know what to say. It's that your nervous system gets hijacked and wisdom goes away. So just think, what is the state I'm in right now? Am I grounded or am I activated? Am I bracing or am I present? Am I responding or am I responding to something that brings up an old wound in me? So you don't want to get pulled into that old mindset and be reacting from an old wound, an old insecurity. So the first strategy is to pause, plant your feet, relax your jaw, drop your shoulders and breathe. Just that beat of silence, that tiny thing that feels a little awkward, and then just say to yourself, I'm not being dragged into this. I'm not going to react. I can remain anchored even in this moment I'm feeling uncomfortable. So this is where the salt and light thing comes in. So we ask, what's happening in me right now? Because some of us are not actually responding to the person in front of us. We're responding to our parent, our boss, our inner critic, something from childhood, a betrayal, shame, an embarrassment, being dismissed, controlled, overlooked. And our body says, we have been here before. And maybe in that moment, you're going back to that place. And then you go back to no boundaries, no clarity, no grounding. And you've got to just re-ground yourself, take a beat. You could ask yourself and the other person sometimes, what is the goal of this conversation? Is somebody baiting you? What are we hoping to accomplish here? That's not saying it sarcastically. You just say it calmly. And it really just puts it on them. So what is your intent? Are you intending to hurt me? And that reveals the direction of the conversation. Is it a healthy direction? That's wisdom. The conversation, does it deserve your emotional energy? Or is somebody just trying to pull you into their chaos? And you do not have to be a landing place for their chaos. So the question is, what are we hoping to accomplish here? Let me understand what you mean by that. What is your intent here? So those are versions of the same question. And we're not escalating anything. We're just trying to get clarity. So we don't say it sarcastically. We say it lovingly. That makes it harder for them to disrespect you in that moment or embarrass you. But mature people clarify. So if they can clarify, then you can have a conversation. Help me understand what you mean by that is another way of saying it. That's another sentence to say. It just allows your nervous system a beat. Discernment is not suspicion. Discernment is seeing clearly. This is part of the reset. We have to know the state before the story. And that's going to determine how you show up in that moment. Are they attacking me? And then you defend. And are they rejecting me? Then you have to prove yourself or over-explain. But you can pause and you can clarify and you can respond. So the sentence is, help me understand what you mean by that. Or the third sentence is, that doesn't work for me. You could just say, that doesn't work for me. Whatever they're saying, don't get pulled into their courtroom and have to defend yourself, right? So the next time you're in those conversations, you're trying to see what they mean, and then they ask you something that you cannot get into, you cannot agree with, don't decorate it. Just be clear, be clean, be mature. That does not work for me. You're not being nice when you say yes and resent people. You're not being loving when you agree outwardly and complain inwardly. It's not humble when you let people override you because you're afraid of their action. Jesus was loving, but he was clear. Not everybody's urgency became his assignment. right? He stopped for people along the way. So when somebody violates your capacity, your conviction, or your assignment, your peace, your priorities, you're allowed to say, that does not work for me. That's not selfish. That's stewardship. Sentence 3 is, that does not work for me. Sentence 4 is, I am going to pause before I answer, right? You can say that, like, I'm going to need to think about that. Don't give a reaction right now. Don't give an explanation now. Their urgency is not your urgency. Manipulation sometimes is used by putting forced deadlines on people, like making it so urgent that you have to answer right now. But you need to steward your words and steward your peace, steward your decisions. You don't need to be sloppy and fast. It could be one sentence, just, I'm going to have to get back to you. Or there's strength in saying, I need a moment, or I'm going to have to think about that. Perhaps you could say, I'm not able to answer that right now. Or before I make that decision, I'm going to pray, or I'm going to consider that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to consider it. The restored version of you is learning not to let discomfort lead. I'm going to pause before I answer. I'm willing to discuss this, but not right here, right now. That's trust and dignity for yourself and others. Just make sure your tone is correct. You don't want to have the wrong attitude, the wrong spirit, the wrong approach and tone. So you could say, I'm willing to discuss this, but just not in this way. I'm not avoiding this conversation. I just don't feel like right now is the right time. You don't have to get into the fight or flight. You can stay present and still refuse to get pulled into the chaos. You can be kind and clear. You can be compassionate and firm. You can be refusing to step into their chaos and keep your own peace. That's restoration. I'm willing to discuss this, but just not like this. How about we come back to this tomorrow, or whatever you need to say, or I will get back to you later today. I'm going to pause before I give you my full response. Those sentences matter. You're able to reset your peace in those moments. And you say to yourself, am I grounded or activated? Am I bracing or am I in peace? Take a moment. Am I trying to prove myself? Am I telling myself that I need to fill this silence because I'm uncomfortable? Ask clarifying questions, set boundaries, pause before answering, return with purpose, refuse the chaos, get your power back in communication. Here's the faith piece. Corinthians tells us to be on our guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. That's not passive faith. That's not fragile faith. That's not people-pleasing faith. That's anchored faith. Do not be faithfully and spiritually asleep in a conversation and get pulled in to their criticism or the courtroom of their own mind. You can be compassionate and not collapse. This is not about being hard. This is about being anchored. The Holy Spirit doesn't lead us into frantic self-defense. The fruits of the Spirit, peace, self-control. This isn't about being harsh. It's being kind, not cruel. Loving without being controlled. That's formation. That's what Salt and Light's about. Reveal the trigger, reset the state, renew the story, restore the response. Because you cannot restore your life if your conversations keep pulling you back into the old version of you. A practical takeaway. Choose one sentence we talked about. Don't wait until you're activated. Pick one. Maybe it's, what are we hoping to accomplish here? Maybe it's, help me understand what you mean by that. Perhaps it's, that doesn't work for me. Maybe it's, I'm going to pause before I answer. And maybe it's, I'm willing to discuss this, but not like this right now. Write it down. Practice it, not with attitude, just calmly. It may begin with one sentence. Your breakthrough into your new self. You do not need to win every conversation. You just need to stop losing yourself in them. That's the work. That's renewal. That's restoration. So when pressure comes in the room, don't give it the microphone. Stay anchored. Be on your guard. Stand firm. Be courageous. Be strong. That's Salt and Light, rewired mind, restored life. Go be steady, be clear, be faithful, and stop giving your power away one sentence at a time.